What's up, everybody? How's it going? I'm going to talk about design to code, design engineering, kind of the gap, and using AI to fill that gap. So why don't we jump in? So who am I? Thank you. I'm Steve, co-founder CEO of Builder.io. My slide is not up yet, but I think it will be momentarily, hopefully. There we go. That's me. I've made some cool open source projects as well. Why don't we go full screen? That you may have heard of. But that's not the super interesting thing we're going to cover today. I want to talk about LLMs. It might seem kind of surprising, but it's easy to forget that LLMs are just basic predictive text systems. So you give them a set of words, and they effectively just try and predict the next word. All the crazy stuff you see LLMs do, 3D, blah, 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 it's just that. It's that concept applied to different domains. What's cool about them is they use extremely large neural networks. So they're kind of loosely based off how our brains work, which makes them surprisingly smart sometimes. So it depends on how you use them. And so the big question becomes, how can we use these things to kind of bridge the gap between design and development? That's what I want to talk about today. I especially want to cover using them with real workflows, real repositories, real design systems. You've probably seen a lot of cool stuff, including stuff Figma announced. And I saw some people left wondering, well, what about the big giant Next.js repo I have now? I want some AI to be able to control that from the point of view of our design team, prototyping, building, turning things into high fidelity, full-on production-ready code. And so I'm going to do something that pretty much is unilateral. Pretty much everyone recommends I don't do, and I'm going to live demo this whole time. So let's jump in. So I'm going to take an actual product that we have. This is a site that our team made that is a bunch of courses on how to use Builder. Whole bunch of stuff, Next.js, whatever repo, whatever stack, doesn't matter. And what I'm going to show you is using Builder, and I'm going to explain a little bit how it works under the hood, to connect to that and allow AI and visual editing of anyone in your team of that existing code base. Importantly, it uses its own components, its own design systems, its own stuff. And I'm going to guess if you work at a company, you have your own stuff that you want to use as well. So I'm going to be demoing something that's actually pretty brand new to our product. I want to use this opportunity for feedback to show you how it works and how you can get access to it. And so here, I'm in the Builder visual editor. And as you can see here, I have actually opened up. We have run this code in a virtual machine and a server. And I can visually edit this code. I can come in and make changes, do whatever I want. This is kind of a full Figma-like experience on top of code. To give you a full sense of this visual development environment, let's do a couple things. So I've opened up 2 tabs here. I'll be able to make changes in one and then flip to the other. These are like branches in Git. We can kind of keep our changes independent. In this one, I'm going to use a little AI, and I'm going to say, add a new contact us page, and put a link in the nav. So if you're familiar with a tool like Cursor, Cursor's cool in that it can deal with a code base of any tech stack, any size and complexity, and it can sort of mostly kind of reuse components and reuse patterns that it sees. That's awesome, but that's generally meant for developers, right? If you are a designer, I've seen some people go through the burden of setting up a local development environment, learn how to use Git, learn how to use GitHub. But for the rest of us, it'd be nice if we had something a little bit more visual we could work with, and a little more integrated with the design systems we use and the design tools we use. To show you a bit of that, I'm going to let this contact page updates run, and I'm going to jump over here and show you a few other things we can do. So we have some updates in Figma that we want to bring over. So let's jump over here. And here's an updated page design where we have these 2 new sections. Looks great. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to, from the Builder Figma plugin, I'm going to copy. And then over here in our actual code, I'm just going to paste. And then I brought the design in. We are able to index and fully understand your design system. So when we pull in buttons and cards and types of things, it's using our own design system, fully custom or third party, like Material UI, it doesn't matter. We can make additional updates, like maybe I want to add more cards, add some space, change this. Hello, config. Whatever we want to do. And then I can go and add additional context to the AI before it outputs the final code. So I could say, make the buttons launch confetti when clicked, and run. It's applying these changes now to the code. And then I'll show you in a moment how we can extract that code update out. We'll be either making a pull request, or we can use a CLI. I'll get back to that. Going back over here, we can see that I generated my contact page. I can click on it, added a link to the header, beautiful. And great, we generated a new page. And this is using our icon library, our typography, our design tokens, everything. But I don't have to just be married to this design. It gave me a suggestion from patterns it saw inside the code we already have. And like you saw before, we can go into edit mode. Maybe I think that this message form, let's do this. I don't care about your name. I'll just take your email. I don't care about your phone number. That's a little too much. And let's do a couple more things. Let's actually grab some other stuff. Like, I know I have this design I want to bring over. So I'll export that to code, copy, and paste. And I can add a little bit more context to the AI too and say, hey, add an FAQ accordion under this. Full-on interactive stuff connected to data, totally fine. Now, we can probably go back to, while this runs, what we did on this last tab. And this now applied all of the changes we made visually into the code. I'll show you the code in a second. But what's cool is we could test it out and see if we get confetti. What's cool, too, is it inferred that because that was a view course button, that it should take us to the courses page. Beautiful. I bet if I click Contact Us, it might take us to the help page. Awesome. That's where we had contact info. Now, when we're happy with these changes, we like what happens, we can fire up a pull request at any point. I'll talk about some of the use cases I think this is best suited for. But here, the AI agent right now is generating a nice, proper title and description. But let's take a look at the code changes. So you can see our confetti that got launched. You can see we made a reusable component. So it saw that there was a component missing that would be helpful to have. Scrolling down a little further, it's reusing some of these components. It's using our Next.js link, et cetera. And if we want, we can give any additional feedback to the AI. So I can go in here and comment and say, hey, Builder.io bots, move this component to be in its own file. You can give any feedback there, and the AI will kick in and make updates subsequently. So you can do this agentic kind of offline flow, too. The idea here, again, is if you've ever used any type of design-to-code process, there's a couple different buckets, but they all have similar challenges, included us and everything we'd built to date. You can have something that just gives you a zip folder of files, but it doesn't really know the rest of your code and have a reuse your code and all of that. That's problematic. You can use some kind of like CLI or MCP thing that can kind of at least put files where they should be. But still, the thing about this topic of large language models is, while they're trained on text in and text out, we've consistently found when building our product and getting user feedback that when you're talking about visual updates, visual design, visual prototyping, visual interactivity, you need a visual canvas. Ideally, you can chat with it, and you can make manipulations in a very Figma-like editor. We've designed our editor to be familiar and feel as much like Figma as possible, so going back and forth feels relatively seamless. And let me show you another use case that's interesting here, too, which is a very common one. A big common challenge is most of the time when you're designing and you eventually need to produce some code, you're most of the time not building something brand new. You're updating something. So we have this page. And I don't love the fact that that purple section doesn't quite match those gray sections. So I can hop back over to Figma. And let's go in here. And let's just kind of borrow that styling. So I'll do like a copy-paste style from here to here. Cool. And now one thing I can do, and this has been kind of a forever challenge in the space, is I can apply these updates. So like something that came up recently, I was on a stream with somebody who was talking about, hey, I vibe coded a kind of an ugly thing. I replicated everything in Figma and made it look nice. Now how do I get the nice thing back into the code? And historically, it was like, haha, you don't. But now let me show you what we could do. So I can just go back into edit mode. I can select this. And I can paste this as context. I don't know if you can see that. But when I'm pasting here, it has kind of my Figma thingy. And I can say, like, apply this new design to this section. Or call it, like, my design updates to this section. And now what it's going to do, it's going to make the most minimal possible changes to pull in the differences that change in the design. And in this case, that code wasn't originally from Builder. That was just from the developers. I think Ahmed on our team wrote that. But now I can bring in design iterations. Maybe I change the button color. I'll show you that in a second. In fact, why don't we do that now? Let's do something else cool here. Well, let's see the results. Ta-da! Here's our design change. And again, here I'm just going to hit the update PR button, and it's going to send the update. In fact, when we look at that update, we are going to have a new commit in the line of commits. You'll also see we now have a nice, beautiful PR description and title. And then let's look at our latest commit. Let's look at a more useful one. And this might have been here. Why don't we go to the final code? One sec. So we should actually see a couple things. One is previously, when I commented on the PR and said to the builder bot, refactor this to its own file, it did correctly move this to its own file like we asked. And then let's see if we have, here we go. So this was the section that I applied new styling to. And here you can especially see in here that it only applied the styling changes it needed to. It didn't apply anything else I didn't want. There's another whole set of use cases that I think are interesting here when you have this sort of like canvas where you can copy and paste between Figma and code back and forth, which is we've had these use cases come up forever, which is like, OK, we've designed this very complex multi-screen flow. We've got a carousel of multiple slides. We've got an onboarding with many, many different permutations. And so let me show you something else that's useful. Why don't I go back, and let's pop back over to the updates we made in this version. So in this version, I think we already saw, we added our nice accordion and other changes that I had made just willy-nilly in the UIs. Let's go back over here to the home page of this one. This is a separate branch entirely, so I'm kind of back where I was in a sense. And let's edit, and let's create something dynamic, pulling in multiple designs, multiple frames. So I can hop back over to Figma, and let's go over to these that I designed. So I designed these two pretty basic, pretty simple carousel items. So I can grab this one and copy and say, let's select this and say, add a carousel below this. It should have two slides, this and paste. And let's grab this one, export, copy, and this, paste. And now we're kind of blending the worlds that you may have seen in different tools here and there. If you're used to a tool like Cursor, like I mentioned, Cursor can do big chunks of this, right? Connect to a repo, make certain edits, but it's not going to go super seamless understanding of Figma. It's not going to send pull requests or kind of make changes autonomously based on feedback you give. There's a lot of vibe coding apps. Figma just launched one too. Super awesome for net new prototypes. But one thing that's really cool about when you can actually prototype on an existing code base is you can actually build things for real. So let me talk a couple use cases that we use today. One is our PMs prototype real features on our real product. So like one of our PMs the other day was like, hey, I have this idea for this advanced duplication feature. And I have to admit, it sounded really complicated. And I gave her the feedback, that sounds complicated. I don't think we should do that at all. And she's like, wait, I made a prototype already. She opened up the builder product. She showed me the prototype she had made. And it was a lot simpler than I realized. And this isn't someone with a UX background. This was someone who just had the AI and worked with it and made a prototype in the actual product. We can send a link to others, too. We can take our prototype. In fact, let's take this version. And we can share it, either internally or with customers. What do you think about this version of things? And again, it's the real product. I've used other products to make mock-ups, and like, let's make a pretend version with the pretend updates. And it's like, what am I pretending and what's real? Here, we can actually do real things and share the real things with real people. You can use this for iteration, too. So most people who have done any type of prioritization knows that there's always 1,000 million things you want to do, but you can't because they're not the top priority. When we first built this, that same PM, the very first thing they wanted to do, desperately with this tool, is get rid of one line. In our products, there was one random line that was never supposed to be there. As you can imagine, that ticket got kicked back and back and back, and actually, it's possible we never even made a ticket. How is the one line ever more important than all the other things that customers need right now? And she was dying, and she jumped in there and immediately made the pull request to delete the one stupid line that never should have been there. Those types of things that fall by the wayside are, in my experience, things that bring a lower quality to your products because they're just hard to justify the importance of. But when you can have PMs, product designers, or engineers just go in, open up, click, and update, it opens up these sort of new, faster workflows. Whether it be prototyping and just trying things out, you can totally choose to say, hey, this code's fine, but you know, it's high fidelity. This code is always what you see, it's what you get. It's different than Figma, where Figma, everything you have, when it becomes code, is not guaranteed to be specifically any specific way. Here, this is all real code. So this is all guaranteed. If the team has fully approved and said everything looks and feels perfect here, then all your engineer has to do is one of two things. Comment and decide if they like it and merge the changes if they like it, or they can use this as just a baseline. Like, hey, I'm going to do this my own way, but I certainly will grab chunks of this code with my own details or changes or cooking up data the own way I want to do. That's totally OK, too. We see other use cases that have come up internally around things like internal tools. So we have this one tool that helps us with content, with AI, and I get unlimited requests. Can we update this thing? Can we add this thing? Can we tweak this UI? And we don't have time for those. We're like, we really don't have time. I don't have time. I made the mistake of building it. Now I have to support it. And now with this project, we call this Project Fusion. This is a new offering we have. I just tell people to do it themselves. You want to update it, just update it. Send me a pull request. I don't care. I really don't have time to maintain this tool. Send me pull requests with whatever you want, and we can merge it. Internal tools becomes kind of a big unlock for organizations that just can't support all these things all at once. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you can choose your workflow you want. This supports any tech stack. This supports, I'm showing React and Tailwind, but you don't have to use that. You can use Svelte or whatever you want. And ultimately, you get to still fully control all of your workflows. All your SOC 2 compliance and reviews, your design system, and everything you already do stays intact. But you get to leverage these new cool tools. So if you're asking yourself every time a new AI product launches, hey, I would love to do that. I would love to be able to make something really fun and exciting, and if I could do it visually or prompt or whatever, you can now start doing that with real products on real repositories, because the goal here is to use large language models in a set of kind of user experience patterns that unlocks the ultimate value here, which is to make everyone a closer part of the development process. We want to make it so that everyone can be a developer. Whether you are a developer and you want to work in whatever tooling you prefer Cursor, you prefer GitHub pull requests, whatever, you can leave 100 comments here, you can clone this, you can do whatever you want. Or if you're a designer and you want to live in Figma, great, you can live in Figma. You can do everything here and just copy paste across whenever you want. Or if you want to be a vibe coder, no coder, or whatever, you can just prompt the system with whatever crazy thing you want to. To wrap things up, why don't we do like the craziest possible prompt we can think of? Let's do this. I have an idea. I've never done this before, so don't judge me for it. But I'm just going to say, add the game Doom below this. And let's see what happens. I've never tested this. I just noticed I'm never ahead of time. I'm always behind time and getting in trouble. And I have 2 minutes, so we're just going to go off script and see what happens with this. But that's the idea. These are real products, real prototypes, et cetera. Maybe if we're lucky, Doom will have purple buttons that match our design system as well. But the message I'm trying to get to you, which is really the synthesis of like why I started working on this company in the first place, which is my background was originally in product design. I made designs. I obsessively obsessed over every single possible pixel in the interface, and then it got coded up, and all of that kind of seemed to get undone. And my first tactic was, I'm just going to be really annoying to the developers. And that didn't go very far. Nobody appreciated that, them or me. So I started learning to code, and I started being like, I'll just do it myself. I had to. I too much of a control freak. I had to do it. And over time, it was just such a strange experience learning. In the past, it was Adobe products, and learning code and just seeing how different those things are. They're just so insanely different. The biggest difference being, unlike a tool like Flash, where that was kind of the OG vibe coding tool, where you could start visually and incrementally get more advanced all the way into code if and when you need, that didn't exist anymore. If you want to learn to code, you're going right to this. What the hell am I supposed to do with this? You know, this is our builder internal repo. If you've never worked with this type of code before, like, good luck. What the hell am I doing? You know? Now we can give you an interface more like this. I'm familiar with that. I can talk to it. I can ask questions to the AI. I can use a copy paste from Figma, or I can edit visually, whatever. And I can speak the same language. We can all be speaking the same language. So whether you're an engineer who needs to offload more work, or is tired of, there's the case that I've always run into too, where like someone asks you to code up a thing, and you code it up, and then they look at it and they feel it and they go like, never mind, can you change this thing? Like, okay, you change the thing. And then they feel it and they're like, no, that's not quite right either. Can you change this? It's really frustrating. But instead, what we want to do is put it fully in people's hands. Let's see if we can get Doom in here. Let me open a new tab and see if we get lucky. I don't think we did. I'll come back. I'll do a follow-up link. Or if you want, so I'm running out of time, so I'll get to it. If you want, I'm going to try and run this prompt again and see if we can get successful. After this talk, you can talk to our team over there. If you want to talk about any of this, you can talk to us about how we made this stuff, how we do all the LLM fun stuff, or how to use this product. If you want to get a demo of any of this stuff for you or your company, let us know. I will be over there in this booth right after this. You can ask us questions. We're also hiring for a designer as well to run sort of our marketing and brand design. So apply, reach out to me, stuff like that if you're interested. But thank you so much, everybody. And if we're lucky, we'll get a running Doom game shortly, too. Thanks.